Book of Heaven, Volume 12. 2 June to 12 October 1920. Page 158 to 164. June 2, 1920. Jesus felt the pain of the separation which man had caused with sin. Continuing in my usual state and recollecting myself in prayer, I saw an abyss within me, of which I could not see the bottom, and in the middle of this abyss of depth and width, I saw my sweet Jesus, afflicted and taciturn. I could not comprehend how I could see him inside me, while feeling very far from him, as if he were not there for me. My heart remained tortured, and I felt the torment of a cruel death, and this, not once, but as many times as I find myself in this abyss, as though separated from my all, from my life. Now, while my heart was dripping blood, my always lovable Jesus, coming out of this abyss, surrounded my neck with his arms, and placing himself behind my shoulders, told me, "My beloved daughter, you are my true portrait." Oh, how many times my moaning humanity found itself in these tortures! It was identified with the divinity. Even more, they were one single thing. But while we were one, I felt the torture of the separation and of the abyss of the divinity, because, while it wrapped me inside and out, and I was identified with it, I felt far away from it. My poor humanity had to pay the penalty and the separation which the abusing humanity had caused with sin, and in order to join it to the divinity, I had to suffer the whole pain of their separation, but each instant of separation was a ruthless death for me. This is the cause of your pains and of the abyss that you see. It is likeness to me. Also, in these times of war, humanity runs away from me as though in hasty flight, so you have to feel the pain of its separation to be able to join it to me. It is true that your state is too painful, but it is always a pain of your Jesus. And I, in order to give you strength, will hold you tightly from behind your shoulders, so that, while keeping you more safely, I give greater intensity to your pain. In fact, if I kept you in front of me, by just seeing my arms close to you, your pain would be halved, and your likeness to me would be achieved later. June 10, 1920. The humanity of our Lord lives suspended in the air. For one who lives in the divine will, whatever it does, the soul does. I was feeling very afflicted and all alone, with no support from anyone, and my sweet Jesus clasped me in his arms, lifting me up in the air, and told me, "My daughter, when my humanity lived on earth, it lived suspended halfway between heaven and earth. Having the whole earth under myself and the whole heaven above myself, and by living in this way, I tried to draw the whole earth and the whole heaven within me, to make of them one single thing. If I had wanted to live at the earth's level, I could not have drawn everything within me, but only a few points at the most. It is true that it cost me much to live suspended in the air. I had no place and nobody on which to lean, and only strictly necessary things were given to my humanity. For the rest, I was always alone and with no comfort. However, this was necessary. First, because of the nobility of my person, to whom it did not befit living down below, with vile and faulty human supports. Second, because of the great office of redemption, which had to have supremacy over everything. Therefore, it befitted me to live up high, above everyone. Now, the ones whom I call to my likeness, I place in the same conditions in which I placed my own humanity. Therefore, I myself am your support, my own arms are that which sustains you, and as I make you live in my arms, suspended in the air, only the things which are strictly necessary can reach you. For one who lives in my will, detached from everyone, all for me, anything more than strict necessities are vile things, and degrading herself from her nobility. And if human supports are given to her, she senses the stink of the human, and she herself drives them away. Then he added, as soon as the soul enters my will, her volition remains bound with my eternal volition, and even if she does not think about it, since her will has been bound to mine, whatever my will does, hers does as well, and together with me, she runs for the good of all. June 22, 1920. The sanctity of the humanity of Jesus was complete absence of self-interest. I was bringing the whole human family to my sweet Jesus, according to my usual way, praying, repairing, substituting in the name of all, for everything that each one is obliged to do. But as I was doing this, a thought told me, think about and pray for yourself. Don't you see in what a pitiful state you have reduced yourself? And I was almost about to do so, when my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior and pulling me to himself, told me, "My daughter, why do you want to move away from my likeness?" I never thought about myself. The sanctity of my humanity was total unselfishness. I did nothing for myself, rather, I did and suffered everything for the creatures. My love can be called true, because it is founded on disinterest for my own self. Wherever there is interest, one cannot say that there is a source of truth. On the other hand, the soul with no self-interest is the one who advances the most, and as she advances, the sea of my grace reaches her from behind, inundating her in such a way that she remains completely submerged, without even thinking about it. One who thinks about herself, instead, is last. The sea of my grace is in front of her, and she is the one who has to cross the sea by the armful, if she manages at all. In fact, the thought of herself will create many obstacles for her, such as to strike into her the fear of diving into my sea, and she runs the risk of remaining on the shore. September 2, 1920, the martyrdom of love and of sorrow for Jesus, because of the lack of company of the creature. I live in the midst of almost continuous privations. At the most, my sweet Jesus makes himself seen, and then he escapes me like a flash. Ah! Only Jesus knows the martyrdom of my poor heart. Now, I was thinking about the love with which he suffered so much for us, and my always lovable Jesus told me, "My daughter, my first martyrdom was love. And love delivered my second martyrdom, pain. Each pain was preceded by immense seas of love. But when love found itself alone and abandoned by the majority of creatures, I raved, I agonized, and since my love could not find anyone to whom to give itself, it concentrated within me, drowning me and giving me such pains, that all other pains seemed a refreshment compared to these. Ah! If only I had company in love, I would feel happy, because with company all things acquire happiness, and they diffuse, they multiply. Love close to another love is happy, be it even the most tiny love, because it finds one to whom to give itself, one to whom to make itself known, one to whom to give life through its own love. But if it is close to someone who does not love it, who despises it, who does not care about it, love is very unhappy, because it does not find the way to communicate itself and to give him life. Beauty close to ugliness feels dishonored, and it seems that they shun each other, because beauty hates ugliness, while ugliness close to beauty feels more ugly. What is beautiful is happy to be close to something beautiful, and they communicate beauty to each other. The same for all other things. What is the use for a teacher of being learned and having studied so much, if he cannot find a pupil to whom to teach? Oh! How unhappy he is, not finding anyone to whom to teach so much doctrine. What is the use for a doctor of having understood the art of medicine, if no sick person calls him to make display of his ability? What is the use for a rich person of being rich, if nobody approaches him, and remaining alone in spite of his riches, not finding the way to make them known and to communicate them to someone, he may die of starvation. Only company is that which makes everyone happy, allowing good to be carried out, and making it grow. Isolation makes one unhappy, and renders everything sterile. Ah! My daughter, oh! How my love suffers this isolation. And those few who keep me company form my refreshment and my happiness. September 21, 1920. The acts in the divine will, remain confirmed in it. I was doing my acts in the most holy will of my Jesus, and moving in my interior, he told me, "My daughter, as the soul does her acts in my will, her acts remain confirmed in it. So, if she prays in my will, as her prayer remains confirmed in my will, she receives the life of prayer, in such a way that she will no longer need to make an effort to pray, but she will feel the spontaneous promptness of prayer within herself. In fact, remaining confirmed in my will, she will feel within herself the spring of the life of prayer. A healthy eye makes no effort to see. Rather, it naturally looks at objects, delighting in them and enjoying them, because it contains the life of light within itself. But a sick eye, how many efforts, how it suffers in looking. In the same way, if the soul suffers in my will, if she works, she will feel within herself the life of patience, the life of working in a saintly way. So, as her acts remain confirmed in my will, they lose weaknesses, miseries, all that is human, and are substituted by springs of divine life. September 25, 1920. The truth is light. Simile of the sun. Finding myself in my usual state, I saw my always lovable Jesus as if he were placing a globe of light in my interior. Then he told me, "My daughter, my truth is light, and in communicating it to souls, who are limited beings, I communicate my truths with a limited light, since they are not capable of receiving immense light. However, it happens as with the sun. While it appears up there in the heavens as a limited, circled globe of light, the light which it spreads invades the whole earth, it warms, it fecundates. So it is impossible for man to count the plants fecundated, and the lands illuminated and warmed by the sun. While he can see it up high in the heavens in a twinkling of an eye, he cannot see where its light ends up, nor the good which it does. The same happens with the sons of the truths which I communicate to the souls. They appear as limited within them. But as soon as these truths come out, how many souls do they not touch? How many minds do they not enlighten? How much good do they not do? This is why you saw me place a globe of light inside of you. These are my truths which I communicate to you. Be attentive in receiving them, and more attentive in communicating them, in order to give course to the light of my truths. Now, returning to pray, I found myself in the arms of my celestial Mama, who caressed me, squeezing me to her lap. But then, I don't know how, I forgot about her and I was lamenting that all had abandoned me. And Jesus, flying by, told me, "Just a little while ago my Mama was here, who squeezed you in her arms with great love." And as he said that, I remembered, the same happens with me. How many times I come, and you forget about it. Could I perhaps be without coming? On the contrary, I act like a mama. When her child sleeps, she kisses and caresses her, though the child does not know anything about it. And when she wakes up, she laments that her mama does not kiss her and does not love her. That's what you do. Praised be Jesus, author of loving stratagems. October 12, 1920. The help of one who lives in the divine will is Jesus alone, and she must be the help of others. I was feeling very oppressed, all alone, without even the hope of receiving a word of help, of reassurance. Be it even holy people, it seems that, if they come to me, it is for help, for comfort, or for dispelling their own doubts. But for me, nothing. So, as I was in this state, my always lovable Jesus told me, "My daughter, one who lives in my will is placed in my same conditions. Assume that I might need the creatures, which cannot be, since creatures are not capable of helping their Creator. It would be as if the sun wanted to ask for light and heat from other created things. What would they say? They would all draw back and, confused, would say to it, 'What? You are asking for light and heat from us? You, who fill the world with your light, and fecundate the whole earth with your heat. Our light disappears before you. You, rather, give us light and heat.' The same happens to one who lives in my will. Since she is placed in my conditions, and since the sun of my volition is in her, she is the one who has to give light, warmth, help, reassurance, comfort. Therefore, I alone am your help, and you, from within my will, help others.